7 with Steve, Cat, Ryan, Amanda, and Eric. In the voice of NEW, Vince Berry. Hitting all the topics like a clothesline flurry. Turn up your speakers and hear them out. You can listen from your car, even on your couch. They too raw, who NXT? Handing out smackdowns, follow on IG. Plus, it's sponsored by Tag Me a Date. Go to YouTube and sub now for every update. It's all wrestling here. No safe space, now listen in. Time to hear from some of the greats.
Everyone I've ever loved and pushed them all away.
One of the one of the best theme songs in the business today, and written by the Ayatollah himself. 30 fucking years of Chris Jericho, ladies and gentlemen. 30 years. Let me tell you something. In this business, that's
Nobody
a feat.
makes it that long.
That's a feat on its own. And the fact that he still is relevant, he still changes the game, he changes himself, he changes with the times. Now we're sipping bubbly and he's leading AEW, even not as champion, he's still AEW. Yep. It's just everything about him, man, is just heel, face, performer in the ring, performer on stage. There's nothing the guy can't do. Welcome to the War Report. Vince, take it away, my friend.
This is the War Report, brought to you by TagMeADate.com, and first and only dating site exclusively for fans of professional wrestling. We're rebuilding the site. We'll relaunch when things are a little bit better. Obviously, things are a little hectic right now. You don't want to be going on a date and some weirdo coughs on you and then you're dead. So we're not going to have a dating site up right now. But we have lots of wrestling to talk about. As I said, it is a dating site exclusive for fans of wrestling. We're all fans of wrestling. Obviously, if you're listening right now, I hope you're a fan of wrestling. Otherwise, you just like the sound of our voices, which is okay too. But we'll get things started with, I don't even know. It's been a busy week.
Look at the screen, my friend. Listen, it's been a very busy week. We have a lot to talk about. But I think
I like that you have the bottom thing. I love this. We're using a new platform, and I really like it.
I'm glad because it's not the cheapest thing in the world, but I think we've been doing this for so long. I think it's worth it. It makes it. I think it looks better. It sounds better. I get to put the comments scrolling down the screen. That. We have people make comments. It goes right up on the screen so we can address. It's just, and it streams everywhere.
If you're on Facebook watching this, or is it? I don't know what other platform.
We are on Facebook Live. We are on Periscope, which is in essence Twitter. We're on YouTube, and those are the live features. And then anywhere you can download or listen to a podcast, we are there. And that's all thanks to our intern Ryan, who you guys haven't seen in a while, but he's always listening. He's always here with us. He's always contributing. And hopefully we'll get him back. But breaking news before we get into 30 years of Jericho, the chairman of the board has returned. Sam Rivera is with us, ladies and gentlemen. So welcome back, my friend. We miss you.
Appreciate you, sir.
Yeah, man. So, man, we do have a lot to talk about. I have a lot of tickers that are set up and ready to go. But I think we should really just take a moment and start with 30 years of Jericho. It's really, to me, I remember Jericho when he first broke into WCW. That was really, for me, my first taste of Chris Jericho. And he has it. You know what I mean? Like, people say, the it factor is a big part of professional wrestling. Jericho from day one had it. He could wrestle, he could talk. He did dumb, stupid shit that was just over the top and great. Like Chris Jericho, the man of 1,001 holds. He had Rufus with his ass crack hanging out. And then you had his debut in the WWF, which to this day is still one of the greatest debuts in wrestling history. And if you don't know what I'm talking about and you haven't seen it, do yourself a favor, go on YouTube. Chris Jericho debut in the WWF at the time. It's worth the 15 minutes. It is great because it's with him and none other than The Rock. And the two of them battling it out on the microphone, it was gold. It was gold. The whole premise behind it was great. The lead up to Jericho with the countdowns and this and that. So then it's just the evolution, man. Then you had Chris Jericho doing that. And then he became, fucking A, man. There's just so many. But in the end, I mean, you're talking about a guy who beat Austin and The Rock in the same match. He's been in some of the biggest, most high-profile matches, and he is one of the main reasons that AEW is doing as well as it is. They're just fantastic. But go ahead. I've been rambling on, guys.
I was trying to think about the same thing about how long I've been watching Chris Jericho perform. Oh, he did the winning streak. Oh, so Goldberg. This is a real life thing too.
Go ahead.
Brian, our intern, put a comment on the screen for those who can't see about the winning streak for Goldberg. As you know, Goldberg went on a legendary, was 174 win streak until Kevin Nash beat him at Starrcade 98 when Scott Hall interfered and hit him with a taser dressed like a security guard. It's a whole thing. You should watch that too. Anyway, for a different reason. But Jericho wanted a match with Goldberg. Goldberg at the time did not want a match with Chris Jericho. Not in a story. In real life, Goldberg did not want to wrestle Chris Jericho. He's like, no, I'm not going to do it. Chris Jericho decided that he was going to make this into his own little story. So he would come out on weeks that Goldberg wasn't there. Literally, Goldberg, they would even say Goldberg's not in the building tonight, well, whatever. Jericho would come out and say, I'm wrestling Goldberg. Of course, the announcer's like, what are you talking about? I'd rather you're wrestling Goldberg. Well, if you won't come out, the referee's got to count to 10. He'd have the referee do the 10 count and ring the bell, and he'd celebrate like he did something. And of course, this being 1997, 1998, WCW, the crowds were electric, and they hated this. And it just got him over as a heel even more. I mean, he like you said, he feuded with Dean Malenko, which helped him and Dean, because Dean wasn't a big promo guy. The legendary moment, I think, was was it Chris Jericho wrestling Cyclope?
Yep.
And then Cyclope starts wrestling like Dean Malenko. And as he's taking the mask off, Mike Tenay goes, that's not Cyclope. It's wonderful. He actually won a match where he took Juventud Guerrera's mask. Whether or not you agree with the decision by Eric Bischoff to do that because of the tradition of Mexican masks and wrestling and lucha libre, it was still a big moment because
it was a big moment, but I agree with that.
Right,
the mask should never be removed, quite honestly.
It shouldn't be, but it could have been, like The Wall or Roadblock could have won the match and taken the mask, and it would have meant nothing. But Chris Jericho took it. And he would wear it to the ring. I mean, he was even as a young guy innovating, trying to do new things. Ryan mentioned again in the chat, he did the Save Us thing. Then after that, he faked us out with the suit deal. So he came back and he wouldn't say anything, and he'd wear a suit and smile. Bad guy. He just did different shit, man. And then now the AEW, he's changed as he goes through with New Japan. He did this thing, the Painmaker, to counter Okada's Rainmaker persona. And he brings the Painmaker out for like no DQ matches and stuff now. AEW, he's the Champion, the Demo God, the Million Viewer Man. He comes up with every time he comes up with a nickname, he makes a freaking t-shirt. Jerichoholics. He came up with these catchphrases that stick in your brain. The Ayatollah of rock and rolla, and he's a legend.
Can't forget the list.
The list, yeah. The list was my favorite. That was,
he is one of those guys. The list was awesome, but he's one of those guys that no matter what happened or why, the real reason why he decided to call it quits in WWE and go to AEW, at the end of the day, he's still one of those guys that will end up in the WWE Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah.
You can't have a WWE Hall of Fame and not include Chris Jericho. That's a done deal.
Yeah, man. I mean, especially like you said, he was the guy that they really, when they were unifying the WCW and the WWF heavyweight championships after WCW got bought out, he was one of the guys, that they put in this tournament here to determine the unified champion, the undisputed champion. It could have gone to The Rock very easily. It could have gone to Stone Cold very easily. Those two guys were already massively over. This was what, 2001? So 2001, 2002-ish.
Yeah, or even Kurt Angle.
Right. So any of these guys, but these guys were all established as world champions in the WWF. They took a risk because the only time Chris Jericho got near a world title was when he beat Triple H on an episode of Raw because Triple H was bullying Earl Hebner. So Earl Hebner did a fast count and Jericho won, and the whole audience went absolutely apeshit. But they reversed the decision almost immediately. Later in the show, Triple H came out and basically forced Earl Hebner into reversing the decision. So that was like, I want to say 99, 2000. And then it took him another year or two to get up to that world title level. And he crushed it. I mean, whatever they threw at him, he either made the best of it or he did really, took it and knocked it out of the park. Like China. Who else? Not many other people. Eddie Guerrero, I think, was the exception. No one else really had a good chemistry with China in terms of like working together as a partner. Triple H and her was almost like it was a bodyguard manager situation, but like Jericho had to be co-intercontinental champion with a woman. Not that I'm saying it's a bad thing, but think about this. At the time, that wasn't a thing, and intergender wrestling wasn't popular. Men wrestling women really wasn't the thing to do, and women weren't holding men's titles. I know nowadays that's different. Tessa won the Impact World title, et cetera, et cetera. It's happening all over now. But this is 20 years ago. It just wasn't happening. He didn't even want to do it. But he's like, you know what? I'm doing a job. They told me what to do. I'm going to do it to the best of my abilities. And he crushed it.
A lot can change in 20 years, huh?
And I love Ryan's chiming in now that he knows his comments are showing up on screen. So
he's right, though. Wasn't it to feed Jericho to Triple H for his quad return?
He's not wrong.
Not at all.
Because so here's the problem. The whole deal is Jericho got the two belts. He looked great with the two belts. It was a little weird. You're like, this guy, he was the Intercontinental Champion just a couple months ago, and now he's the world champ. It goes to WrestleMania, and this was X8, I want to say. Yeah, because WrestleMania 19 was the one where Booker T should have won instead of Triple H. So WrestleMania 18 was the one where Jericho should have won instead of Triple H. Triple H puts himself because he really wasn't in that position yet. But Triple H, Jericho was the main event because Triple H had to go over like Hogan had to go over back in the 80s. It was like, that match went on as a main event over Rock Hogan. It doesn't make any sense. Rock Hogan's the biggest,
which is mind-blowing.
Ever. That was the biggest WWF match to that time.
And not to mention, think about if you're Jericho. Would you want to fucking follow that? I mean,
no.
You talk about a fucking crowd reaction. I don't think to this day there's ever been a crowd reaction larger than when those two were nose to nose. at that. I mean, it was unbelievable.
That was a hell of a match too. Those two put on a show.
Fantastic.
That was a great
It was
match.
perfect.
Fantastic match.
Ryan
And,
nailed it. Yeah.
You know, I mean, the other thing was the storyline with Triple H and Jericho got overshadowed by a fucking dog.
Which
Overshadowed by a dog.
Stephanie and Triple H were like divorcing, and there was the dog custody thing. It was ridiculous.
Triple H and her. Yeah, but I don't remember it. I mean, I remember Pepper. That was Al Snow's dog.
That's right. I remember that.
I remember Pepe, who was a wooden horse that Chavo Guerrero used to ride. I remember Moppy. I don't know if I remember Triple H and Stephanie's dog, but that would be such.
Moppy was the best.
Moppy was the best.
Moppy was the
Way
best.
off the
I think Pepe was the best. Didn't Perry Saturn throw him in the wood chipper?
Yeah,
Actually, yeah, I believe so. That was fucking hilarious.
But I just it was a time in wrestling that can't be replicated, and Jericho knows that because he could if he wanted to, just like do a nostalgia run as Y2J Chris Jericho or the Lionheart Chris Jericho, and just do this stuff that he's done.
Yeah.
You know, like
his ECW stuff or his New Japan stuff.
and he could just do that, but he doesn't. Jericho ran a dog over as part of this storyline.
Accidentally.
Okay. Oh my God. A pit bull got run over because Jericho tied it to the bumper of a car.
That I don't actually remember, but
I don't remember
but I believe him. I mean, you know,
ridiculous. I have to go back and rewatch this era now, but like Jericho was always innovating in terms of his character and in terms of, you know, he wanted to, and I appreciate this. There was a point in his career where he knows he's held all the accolades. He has the world title belts. He's a legend. He knew this. So he wanted to work with guys that he could help put over. He put over CM Punk, huge. He put over Kevin Owens, huge. Every person he works with, I mean, Orange Cassidy, he's working with Orange Cassidy a year ago, was working in bingo halls in front of 200 people. And Chris Jericho puts over Orange Cassidy live on pay-per-view in front of 100,000 people. Crazy. Excuse me. He wrestled a great match with Isaiah Cassidy from Private Party. He wrestled a great match with Jungle Boy from the Lucha Express.
I think it's rare that Jericho has a poor match, but at the same time, for the round table here, what would you guys say is your favorite Jericho gimmick or time?
oh, that's a tough one, man.
I mean, when
The
he
Goldberg entrance when he ended up outside.
yes, that's a great one. And he's knocking on the door.
Security, he had Ralphus and all them, and
Yeah.
You know what? I think for me, I mean, here, like, fuck you, Sam. That's a tough one. You know what it is?
You have to pick from 30 years of stuff.
Listen, you said 30 years. We're doing this as a tribute to Jericho. You got to do it right.
Yeah, no, I feel you. But I would have to say, for me, in a short order, my all-time favorite would have to still be his debut.
That Y2J debut, I mean,
The whole thing with the countdown, and then just the anticipation, and you know, back then they let things go for a while. I mean, this was literally a few months of seeing this ticker and coming soon and this and that, and then you didn't really know, and the spoilers weren't as crazy as they are now, so nobody really knew, and it was a nice surprise. And then the countdown comes, and who better than the fucking Rock to be in the ring? And that whole
huge, by being
huge,
and just erupted.
and it was just all the little things, like, you know, ever or again, and like all that shit, and the stupid looking ponytail with the long hair coming out of it, like just everything worked. And you know, that gimmick, that Jericho had some of the greatest moments, like all the ones with Stephanie McMahon when she got the breast implants, and
Oh my
you know,
God.
obviously they could be a little edgier then. It was just, there were
The
so many
glare
great
and the
moments.
glare.
So that Jericho and that beginning, so to speak, is still my all-time favorite. But a close second is the List of Jericho, And then right behind that has to be his AEW run and just his.
Why
I
don't you
mean,
just take them all and leave none for everybody else? That works.
well,
Go ahead.
I'm giving you my
The
top
list-
in 3 in order. So people may have a different
The
order.
list was first of all, the list thing was so great because it was so simple. You just made the list. Boom! It's a catchphrase. Automatic. You just made the list.
But it was the way he did it.
Right, and
You know what I
he's
mean?
been doing the list since WCW though. If you think about it, with the whole,
That's
it's
true.
the same idea.
That's
It's just he has
It's just an
uncanny
updated
ability.
version of the
Right.
list.
For me, I would say it's the WCW Jericho because I feel like
Yeah.
that's where he got everything. And all his matches with the cruiserweights, with Ultimo Dragon, with Juventud, I mean, that shit was just nuts. And when you put that lion tamer on, it looked like you were dying in that move. You know?
Yeah,
He
and that was back
came
when
into
he
his
really
own.
That was
leaned
when
into
he
wrestling.
actually did it like the real way it's supposed to be
Right.
done.
Yeah,
When he
that's
cranked
what they
down on the
fucking
back of
did.
that neck. That's why when they changed it and he just started doing a regular Boston Crab, I was glad they then really switched to the code breaker at that point because
That was my favorite run. I feel like he came into his own. He really kind of built his own gimmick. He worked with everybody. He put on great matches.
can't argue
That was for me. That would be my number one.
And I I think I might agree with you, Chairman, because like
Shit.
my memories when you say Jericho, the first thing that comes to mind isn't the world titles. It might be the debut with The Rock because you remember the KY jelly roll thing and all this shit, like the back and forth.
You wrestled someone named Juventud?
Yeah, and while that was great too, I don't mean to cut you off, Vince. That was great. Once The Rock said that, I don't whatever, like the likes of somebody who wrestled Juventud Guerrera, he killed him with that.
I feel
That was
like
the end of it.
Like he came out like
Right.
The debut
The
was
pop
great.
was huge.
Jericho cut a promo, right? He cut like a pretty good promo. Did Jericho cut a promo or did The Rock
Yeah.
like, cut the music off? Whatever it was.
The
Rock
Jericho
just-
cut the promo first, and then The Rock
and then
killed
Rock
him.
just shitted on him.
And then he ended up being lower mid card for like 3 months straight. That's
It
the
was
only
a
thing I
great
don't like about.
Right. No, I agree with you on that. Like the fallout where The Rock just shit on him and then they were like, okay, well, you're going to be a mid-card guy for a while. It was weird because they built up this big debut. But my memory, when I go for Chris Jericho, I think back to Dean Malenko, that feud there where
Oh my god, that was
where
fantastic.
Jericho would be like, he was cruiserweight champion. There was a time when he wasn't cruiserweight champion, he'd be like TV champion. So he was feuding with like, Lenny and Lodi and like Juventud and all these weird guys you wouldn't expect him to feud with, but then like he'd win a mask. There was a point where he won the mask. He took like Lodi and Lenny Lane's feather boas. Like he was just, whenever he beat somebody, he was like taking something from them. And it was,
When he beat Lash LaRue, that shit was hysterical.
Lash LaRue was one of my, when
That's
the
the name of
OSW
your
review, when the OSW review podcast, they talk about your boys in wrestling. Your boys aren't like Hulk Hogan and The Rock. Your boys are like, Crash Holly. Lash LaRue was one of my boys back then. You're like, this guy isn't going to win, but I liked him. He did the thing with the L on his side, and he had the L.
that's it.
The L. Oh, man. That was like
I am down to
horse
challenge the big show tonight.
And go on and check your big fat ass directly into the SmackDown Hotel.
directly.
Big Show's gonna need a big king-size bed, isn't he? Wait a minute. Hey, wait a minute. Is that Millennium Tower? It's the Millennium Tower, Tim.
And people really didn't know. There maybe a few people knew, but I don't think everybody knew it was Jericho.
We're counting down 3, 2, we're counting down.
The internet wasn't nearly as prominent back then.
What?
They're counting down to the millennium. I think this is like September or October or something too. It wasn't even like close to being the end of the year. But
It was good video package too.
Even shit
yeah.
like this, the delay in him coming out, the anticipation, listen to that crowd.
The Titantron shows Jericho, and
Yep.
they lose their minds.
And he had his back turned to him, too. And then he turned around with his hair cut off.
Do you remember when Jericho was in the WWF video games?
Oh, Oh yeah.
Jericho! Beautiful.
And he just looked so like
He looked
calm
like a
and like
star.
cool, collected,
He had
like
that-
he was ready to go.
He had
He
the
was meant to
silver
be
shirt,
there.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
He literally came out, stood there, and looked around and said, "I'm home. Like this is where I belong." And he fucking killed it.
He kind of like slumped his shoulders down a little bit. That shit was perfect.
For the World Wrestling Federation.
Oh, they're not allowed to say that anymore.
Now, for those of you who don't know me, I am Chris Jericho, your
Those
new
who
hero,
don't know me.
your party host, and most importantly, the most charismatic showman to ever enter your living rooms via a television screen.
Via.
Even
And
puts
for
himself
those
over
of
him.
you who do know me, well, all hail the Ayatollah of rock and roller!
Oh, I forgot.
Can I say
that he did all
that?
this.
Now,
Oh.
when you think of the new millennium, you think of an event so gigantic that it changes the course of history. You think of a dawning of a new era. In this case, the dawning of a new era in the WWF. The Rock is not impressed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jericho's got a lot of new era is what this once proud and profitable company sorely needs. What was once a captivating, trend-setting program has now deteriorated into a cliched, let's be honest, boring snooze fest that is in dire need of a knight in shining armor. He's talking about you now, JR. Why I'm here.
He sounds like he's talking about
Chris Jericho
2020.
has come to save the WWF.
To save us. He planted the seed. Jesus Christ, this guy's good.
Facts. Television ratings, downward spiral. Pay-per-view buy rates,
Kind of poetic right now, don't you think?
So weird.
mainstream acceptance, non-existent.
Wow.
And reactions of the live crowds, complete and utter silence. And I know why you're silent.
Did he predict the future? Jesus Christ.
You're silent because you're embarrassed to be here. And quite honestly, I'm embarrassed for you.
Wow.
And
If
the
he
reason
said this
why
on
you're
AEW on Wednesday,
because of the steady stream of uninteresting, untalented, mediocre sports entertainers who you're forced to cheer for and care for. No wonder you're not cheering. You can care less about every single idiot in that dressing room. And especially this idiot in the center of the ring. The Rock is going to explode, King, any minute.
JR.
People have been led to believe that mediocrity is excellence. Jericho is excellence.
oh, God.
You forget how
For the
good he
first
is.
time in WWF history, you have a man who can entertain you. You have a man who is good enough for you. You have a man who can make you jump up off your chairs, raise your filthy fat little hands in the air, and scream, "Go, Jericho, go! Go, Jericho, go! Go, Jericho, go!" Thank you. The new millennium has arrived in the WWF. And now that the Y2J problem is here, this company, from the front office idiots to all the amateurs in the dressing room, including this one, to everybody watching tonight, will never, ever be the same again. Y2J, did he say Y2J?
This is where he gets lit up.
He's an arrogant young man.
The man.
And then this is the end of his career.
Yeah. I'm about to end this whole man's career. Oh my What if he came out and just said all that on Wednesday?
Minutes, The Rock says, know your role and shut your mouth!
Second that.
Nobody gets reactions like these two guys anymore.
Nope.
How dare you, little jabroni, come on The Rock show and not even have the class to introduce yourself? What is your name?
I told you.
It doesn't matter what your name is!
Everyone else can do it.
Gotcha. Oh, boy.
The Rock says you talk about your Y2J plan. Well, The Rock has a little plan of his own, and it's called the KY Jelly Plan.
Oh, no. You know that is JR? Yeah. You do? You don't use it to clean pipes, JR.
You don't use it to clean.
Which means The Rock is gonna lube his size 13 boot real good, turn that son bitch sideways, and stick it straight up your candy.
So good.
It was. You can't replicate this shit, man. But like,
No.
just think about Jericho said some shit that still applies to 2020 in that promo. This was 20 years ago.
That's eerie.
And then The Rock just comes out and shit on.
What The Rock is cooking.
So good. So good.
No, there really haven't been segments like that recently, and just a lot of the things that Jericho said there was relevant about ratings being low and the audience being not enthusiastic.
But the funny part is back then it was the complete opposite. You know
Right.
it. But
Well-
now, you fast forward.
he was talking about the WWF because at the time WCW was whooping on him, or this
Right.
was right towards the tail end of that. But basically, it was that was Jericho's way of getting in and cutting this promo was by saying like you guys need WWF was getting beat up by WCW. You need me more than I need you, and that was like the gist of the promo. So like, oh my god, what a guy, what a promo. 30 years in the making. Wednesday night, he's facing the original death dealer, the Japanese deathmatch legend, Dr. Luther. And they put out a great video. People shit on Luther, and I get it because he's like, he's not exactly Dory Funk when he goes out.
How have I
there.
never heard of this guy?
So he was literally him and Jericho started around the same time in the same area, Canada. He was Jericho's best man at his wedding, but he never really made it mainstream. He wrestled like FMW and WAR and all those things in Japan. He wrestled he had great matches with Hayabusa, great matches with Sabu. He'd wrestle in Kurikan or Ryogoku or wherever it was. And then when he came to the US, he worked the indies. He worked again. It was like deathmatch stuff. It wasn't technical wrestling, and he just never broke out. There's a promo on YouTube. It's a road to 30 years of Jericho on the AEW YouTube page, and Jericho puts him over big time. Whether or not this is a lot of Jericho being able to talk people into the building and talk up his opponent, but he talks up Luther as a threat. And really makes it seem like an important match because it's an important match to him. He's been friends with this guy since they started wrestling together. It's been 30 years, and this is their first time that they've wrestled on television. And he really wanted to give his friend Luther a shot here to get him noticed on television because he's been working for so long and never got the recognition. So obviously, I think Jericho wins this match. It's Jericho and Jake Hager against the Chaos Project, which is Luther and Serpentico. And Serpentico is a good little wrestler there, masked guy. He also wrestles, I think he's John Cruz. He wrestles without a mask. He pulls double duty on AEW Dark sometimes. And I think he's one of those guys from Dark that they're looking at to sign and become a permanent member of the roster. Like that's what they've been doing. They've been auditioning people like Willpower, Will Hobbs on Dark and signing them. So I feel like Serpentico's probably next on that list of people that are going to get signed. And AEW's show, we'll get into TakeOver in a second because I feel like we got to talk about that. And
there's quite a few things we got to talk about. But
so definitely check out AEW tomorrow because not only is there the Jericho tag match, there's the celebration 30 years of Jericho. There's a dog collar match between Mr. Brody Lee, the exalted one of the Dark Order, the current TNT champion, and the recently returned American Nightmare Cody. Can't say Rhodes, but he's Cody Rhodes.
But he's back in there.
Dog collar match. And if you've never seen a dog collar match, folks, please go back. I guess the best example would be
Piper Valentine.
Piper Valentine. I was gonna say that's the gold standard. So spoiler alert, not that it's been taped yet. I think it's live. But in terms of spoilers for a dog collar match, and a Cody Rhodes semi-main event, he is going to bleed like a stuck pig. Cody Rhodes is going to carve his forehead up for this match. And it's going to be a bloodbath. It really is. That's what's going to happen in a dog collar match, especially with Cody, because he's not one to do a half measure on anything. So looking forward to that. I think Brody Lee wins because I mean you can't just flip-flop the title between these two guys, at least right away. I think Cody has to lose and work his way back up or lose and try and go another route. So that should be a fun match. Fun AEW show, but yeah, we got TakeOver to talk about. We've got Monday Night Raw.
Raw in less than 30 seconds, boys.
Well, I mean, what can you say? Ali, who's been wrestling on Main Event for the last 6 months, who was supposed to be the hacker that they forgot about and apparently just, did something else with, is now the leader of Retribution.
Right, and so since we're going right into it, we'll go right into it. You got an entire fucking locker room of people.
Mm-hmm.
You need something that's going to save this whole idea of Retribution that is failing miserably.
Well,
and what you come up with is that it's going to be Mustafa Ali. Now, is he going to be the difference maker?
No.
I like Mustafa. I would have rather seen him join the Hurt Business than fucking be the leader of this bullshit. This had to be a big name. This had to be somebody of some real credibility, I guess, believability that he's going to be the general, the ringleader of this group. You know what I mean? Like, to me, this is an epic fucking fail to go along with the epic fucking failure that has been Retribution. And I don't think there's any way of fucking saving it now.
I think you're going too hard, but I'm going to do this. How about this? We're going to do Raw in 30 seconds. I'll run down and then we'll get back to it.
That's fine. Do you?
All right. Here we go. Orton promo. Drew shows up. It is what it is. Zelina Vega, Lana, Natalia versus Mandy, Dana, and whatever the other one is. They go over. That makes no sense.
For the Who Gives a Shit Championship.
Exactly. Jax comes out, drops Lana again. Doesn't make any sense. Here we go.
It doesn't make no sense.
Truth drops the belt to Gulak. We saw that coming. Then we got the Jobbers versus the Nation of Domination 2020 version. They got a little promo, right? Which is the Hurt Business. We got Rollins and Murphy over the Young Mexicans. All right. We got Owens on the Firefly Funhouse. Strowman shows up in his regular pants and goes against Keith Lee.
Regular pants.
It's a count out, and somebody goes to the barricade. Who gives a shit? Nation of Domination 2020 over the Job Squad of Apollo Crews and Ricochet. Riot Squad gets squashed again. MVP versus Ali. Ali is now the leader of Retribution. Then we got the Faces versus the Heels in the main event. Heels go over. Orton, Ziggler, and Rude beat McIntyre and the Street Profits. And that's Raw.
And
Well-
imagine, that was 3 hours.
And he didn't miss a fucking thing, which is just amazing. Well, thank you for that, my dude. That was great. I just don't fucking get it. I just you're saying you're saying that I'm going too hard. How?
So
how,
listen,
how,
we
how
know
am I
that
going
we
too
know
hard?
that they fucked up Retribution,
Yes.
but at the same time, how are they going to come back from the Retribution? You know, there was no
Not
direction.
by putting Mustafa Ali as the fucking
Hold
ringleader.
on, but he should have been there from the beginning, and they kind of planted that seed. They dropped the ball and they brought him back. I think they're finally giving this kid a shot. The kid can work. The kid can talk a little bit, right? He's got a good team behind him. The Halloween mask got to go. You know, that shit's got to go.
Well, the thing
Just
is,
let those
Well,
kids
hold
put
on,
a show
hold
on.
on.
You know,
Here's my thing, dude. I understand what you're saying, and I agree with you. Mustafa, I'm okay with them wanting to give Mustafa the green light to really see what he can do. I'm all for it. I like him. I'm a fan.
listen, he's the
But,
Arabian.
but there's
Lion, man.
but there's
Let him live.
enough. They could have done it. They could have done it a different way and have somebody else be the guy for Retribution. They could have still given him the highlight. You know, I mean, listen, have him be the one that goes
Well,
over
how
the
many
Hurt
times
Business
are
or
we gonna
whatever.
see a star? They have to just throw a star in a group for any fucking reason, just to get the group over.
But dude,
Maybe
the
they're trying to do this
Retribution
organic.
had failed miserably already. So if there was any saving grace,
But it
It would
only
have been a
failed
big
because of the booking with the bullshit in the last couple
No,
weeks.
eh,
Before
there's
that, it
a
was a
lot of
decent
other-
shit.
But here's the thing. They took Dijak and his name is T-Bar, and the other guy is like, you know what I mean? Like, they gave these stupid names and fucking
They
Ali's
absolutely
gonna be like
did. But
Bike
Dijak as a
Rock or
name,
something, you know.
but Dijak as a name isn't going to go over either.
Yeah,
All right,
but like,
Dijakovic
you
is
can't just
he's a
name these
he's a
guys
beast.
like,
but-
you're not gonna name these guys Tow Truck and Fish Hook and all this other stupid shit and expect them to get over. Like, I
This
just
is-
don't get it. Like, give them
This
real
is true,
names.
but you also got to give these guys a shot to kind
see,
of.
Sam, I don't think we're disagreeing. Like even the names, I don't think we're necessarily disagreeing that they shouldn't
Yeah, I
have a
don't
name
think, you know,
change.
not
It's
that-
the actual change of the name that they chose.
Right,
You know,
right.
they're
It wasn't
just
better.
right. The creative, you know, to come up with a nickname of Blue Balls or whatever the fuck it is.
I
You
love
know
that
what
we
I
don't
mean?
even
Like-
know the names of the members of Retribution. We're
Listen,
No
just
fucking idea.
Every fucking time they do an invasion angle of any sort from any company or any new group, either shit's the bad or it's perfect, right? The Shield was pretty decent, right? But
Yes.
I like the
There's no
idea
one
of
to-
Retribution. I did like the idea of we don't know who the fuck it is.
Yes.
These guys are showing up, just beating the shit out of people. They're 50, 60 deep. There's no way anyone could win. The Raw locker room is piling out. You're seeing stars go against no names, and shit is going down. That's a great concept, right?
Yes. Agreed.
They fuck it up with the names, the Halloween costumes, right? They're now backpedaling and they're trying to figure this shit out, right?
and
but they
you
got-
go with Mustafa Ali.
Okay, but he was
Because he was
supposed to be there from the beginning.
right. So I think they're trying to tie this back together. I see.
I
what they're
get
doing.
it, but I don't know, man.
Listen, I think you got to give Ali a shot. This
You
kid's
gotta-
gonna
you
come
give
on.
him a week. You give him a couple weeks. You know. But here's the other thing that's disappointing.
I like him though. That's the problem too.
And I like Ali too. It's really just a case of we'll make the Arab guy the bad guy. You know, like that's just their typical
Well,
thing.
to a degree, yeah, but I think he's gonna be. I think his gimmick is literally should be like Tony Stark. I think he should be like this like whatever, this technologically advanced cat that's that runs all this shit behind the scenes, and he's got all these people working for him, and he doesn't have to do a damn thing. But by the way, if you actually put him in the ring and he could fucking wrestle his ass off.
Yeah.
So I think if they do that kind of flip, the shit would work really well. Almost like what they're doing with the fucking Dark Order and Brody Lee. Same exact concept.
They turn that around, so maybe WWE can turn around Retribution. But the problem is
I fucking hope so.
they haven't given me faith that they can do that because they brought up Keith Lee, and in 7 singles matches that he's had, 5 of them have been a bullshit finish, like a double DQ or a double count out
now,
interference.
I want to jump in on that because that I don't agree with you.
But there's
and
no reason. Like,
here's-
you don't
here's
need to
why.
have those 2 guys, Braun and Keith Lee, don't need to wrestle because you can't have a finish where either of them loses at this point. They're
You
too-
can, but it has to be at a pay-per-view. You know what I mean? I think listen, you have to have Keith Lee in the screwy finishes so that he's not losing. Like to me,
Make 'em
to
win.
me,
Let's have him win.
To me, the Keith Lee Braun Strowman match on Raw was the highlight of Raw for me. I actually enjoyed it because it's two big guys. They're beating the shit out of each other. And then all of a sudden, they go off the stage, whatever. They do all the shit. I was excited to see it. And it was a double count out. So there's no loser. It's going to build to a pay-per-view match. Somebody will have to go over at that point. I just hope it's Keith Lee, but
I doubt that Lee is going to go over. But yeah, I kind of play the middle on this one. I think that they're obviously booking Lee to kind of be the baby face, right? And he can't lose per se, but he's losing anyway. So you're like half-assing his gimmick.
You're losing the interest in the It's
right.
Like
his reactions are over. This kid is over, and I just think that they don't want to rush and put the belt on him yet.
Keith Lee is an absolute superstar.
He's over.
Absolute superstar.
But just here's the problem.
He needs his old music back.
Yes, he needs his old music or a new thing. Aleister Black's new music stinks.
Yes.
There's a whole bunch of new music that just stinks. They need to figure some shit out with that. But like Keith Lee, I'm not saying he should have won the world title against Drew, and he shouldn't have just debuted to be in the main event. Like the same reason I don't think Dominic Mysterio should debut in the main event. Like that's just not how you debut somebody. You got to build him up. Keith Lee needs to be built up by getting wins. They need to put him in there against.
They shouldn't have put them in. You're right, but at the same time, those two are getting reactions. Those two are putting on fucking matches. So
no, they are, but they're not.
The writing is shit. It's not helping the product. I know what you're saying. Because then where do you go from there?
Because what do you do? How do you justify a guy who's had all these double DQs and interference finishes and all that? How do you justify him getting a title match now? He has
you put him in a match with T-Bar.
Yeah, right. That's what it is. It's a beat the clock challenge against T-Bar and Fish Hook and Blue Balls, and then he has to beat them.
Fish Hook and Blue Balls.
I mean, I'm sorry, I don't know their names. Dijak, I love you. I just wish they didn't name you T-Bar. Brennan Williams, you're great. The Big Black Otaku, you're awesome. Mia Yim, good job. Like everybody's great. Everybody that they pick for the group is fucking great.
Right.
And they just give them these stupid names.
Yeah, it's really it's just it is what it is.
Keith Lee, if Keith Lee's wrestling Braun, Keith Lee should go over. And I agree. I agree with two things. I agree with Steve because Steve thinks that Keith Lee should go over. And I also agree.
100%.
I also agree with the chairman. I'm going to point the other way here so I can point to the actual squares. I agree with the chairman because Keith Lee's not going to win. Like he should win, but I don't know if he's going to win because
I don't know, man. I think listen, Vince is very high on Keith Lee. I think it's a very big possibility. Listen, it's not like they've been shy to have Braun lose over and over again lately. So, you know what I mean? I think Keith Lee might actually get over on this one.
He's not going over. No way.
We'll see. But that will be my pick in our pick'em. That's for sure. I'm going with Keith Lee.
Win matches building up to that. They needed to have him beat your Dolph Zigglers and your Bobby Roodes and kind of, work your way up, be a U.S. champion.
But I think that's the WWE also testing the waters a little to see like how people are going to react to it, And
but where would he go? He's not going to beat McIntyre. It's not going to happen. So what belt would be? It doesn't make any sense.
The U.S. title's kind of wrapped up with this Hurt Business feud now, and that's involved with Retribution.
They have no choice. They're trying to put him as a main eventer, but not really in the main event.
Yeah, he's going to be.
It's like they want to pull the trigger, but they don't want to pull the trigger.
Yeah, right, and
they're getting gun shy.
It's just making people weird about it. It's almost like they want to make him like an Andre the Giant, where Andre never had to have a title because he was a big attraction. But
I also think that he's
still going to
when
win.
He's in the ring. The kid is trying really, really hard. You could tell because he's definitely fucking up a lot of spots here and there too, and he normally doesn't do that.
Who's fucking up spots?
Keith Lee.
I don't know if he's
I didn't see him fuck up.
I agree that he's trying. Like I don't say.
I'm gonna make a list of them, and on our next one we're gonna do
it. I'll be interested to see that.
I would be interested too.
I want to see him like some of his best matches were with like little guys like Leo Rush that he could just pick up and throw around. Like that's what you need. Like Keith Lee.
Do we really though? Do we really need that?
Well, I don't mean I'm not saying Leo Rush specifically, but like Keith Lee versus Ricochet, and he just fucking throws him into orbit. Like
I would like to see, maybe by the end of the year, next year, kind of him jump in and take out MVP and kind of run the Hurt Business. That shit would be great for fucking television.
I could see that, or him just joining the Hurt Business.
Yeah, but then it'll be too many guys, and it'll be him against Lashley, and then you got to choose one. I mean, they're jobbing Lashley anyway, so.
I don't know.
true.
I'm not. Raw doesn't give me any confidence that they know what they're doing. SmackDown, they're doing a fine job. You know, they're still maintaining viewers. You know, they.
I don't even watch SmackDown.
I don't watch.
I'm
SmackDown.
Oh, but dude, you listen. If you are not watching SmackDown, then you are missing one of the best written stories going on in the WWE. So if you're not watching, I hope at least
I got to
you
catch
are-
up. Hopefully, you're
Yeah,
not talking about Roman Reigns and his cousin.
No, although I'm enjoying that too, actually, but that's not what I'm referring to.
Thank
I'm
God.
really
You're about to lose a lot of points.
no. What I'm referring to is Alexa Bliss finally making the transition to
Oh, yes,
her
yes.
Harley Quinn deal with the Fiend, and the whole dude. It's fucking awesome. Like even the thing with Kevin Owens, where he's interviewing her on the Owens show, and
I
she
think
just
that's good, except for the whole thing with Owens just pisses me off. He's got to go. He's so
What?
bad.
You
on
don't
the
like Kevin
microphone.
Owens?
I loved him before when he was a heel. I love the guy as he could put on he could work, but holy shit, this shit lately he's just so fucking bad.
I don't agree.
This kid is
Damn,
terrible.
we were on a roll tonight too. We were agreeing on a lot of shit.
He's running a lot of shit. He's running out of shit to say. He's been saying the same shit over and over and over. This guy's terrible. He's got to go.
Oh, dude. Really?
Yeah, man. Play it back. Just play back Monday Night Raw. Good.
Kevin Owens. Here's the thing that I don't like.
How many times are you gonna watch Kevin Owens throw the fucking chairs off of the Owens show? How many times are you gonna see the same fucking thing and then have the camera look at him and he grabs the camera? This is so fucking garbage.
I don't like this thing they're doing with Aleister Black. To be honest, I don't.
Oh,
like
I see. Now that I agree with. I'm not happy with the
Because-
Aleister Black deal.
because Aleister Black was a big babyface feuding with Seth Rollins, and then he had his eye poked out by Seth Rollins. And instead of going back and murdering Seth Rollins, he turned heel and feuded with Kevin Owens. It doesn't make
Imagine
sense.
if Aleister Black became another disciple of Seth Rollins. That shit would have been great.
I think Seth. I mean, but here's the thing.
What happened to the other kid that they had? He was there for like one night. Whatever.
I think he got Me Too'd.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think.
now he's back in NXT now.
Oh, he got NXT. Somebody got.
He got
somebody
NXT'd.
got NXT, which is almost worse. Actually, no. It's a fucking savior. Like they saved. Like Finn Balor would have just left. He'd be back in Japan right now if he wasn't in NXT. There's nothing for Ember Moon to do. She re-debuted at Takeover. Spoiler alert.
There's a little
Ember Moon is legit.
Which I don't understand why they dropped her back down to NXT. Although I guess they're trying to make it feel like it's not like a drop down. It's just another brand.
I
And
think he's saving her.
Well, her and Io Shirai will be fucking fantastic.
yes,
Yeah, because Io Shirai's amazing. I mean,
NXT
It's a
women's
great
division is
transition
fucking
back.
I know Eric's real excited about Ember Moon.
oh yeah,
That's his girl.
Oh yeah.
that's his 3-piece in a biscuit pack. They're all dark.
Was that your motorcycle she was on, Eric?
Oh, Eric needs to buy a motorcycle now.
You got to buy a bike now. That should come on there.
He's gonna take fucking lessons.
Rufio Lost Boys kind of haircut.
Yeah, no, that haircut was cool. I hope they do more. Like they again, she was another one they were half in and half out with in terms of like what they were doing with her gimmick and what like is she a vampire or is she a werewolf or is she not a werewolf? It's kind of like she is or not, but now like Shotzi Blackheart howls and she's not a werewolf, so I don't fucking know. I like Ember Moon. I think she has a high ceiling.
And then
And
right before that, they had a fucking Tony Storm is coming to NXT
Right.
thing.
They
I'm like,
just-
perfect.
they overloaded the women's division at this point in NXT for sure. The main event is
Although it was interesting to watch.
oh no, it's great.
I definitely watched it.
Oh yeah,
It's not like SmackDown.
Well, look, just this year, NXT lost Shayna. They lost Rhea for a brief time.
Yep.
Bianca Belair.
What do you choose? So I guess now would be a good time, I guess, to talk about it because Eric's a big fan. He you know, he'll be the one to probably talk most about this. But NXT Takeover was you know, very good show as usual. Those takeovers always usually seem to deliver. The only thing I dislike is that there are still, despite it being the wrestling show, there's still like sports entertainment silliness. People, is somebody trying to get in my building? Wow. Sports entertainment silliness, not like false finishes, but like interference and people coming out and Johnny Gargano wearing a ref shirt. And like, I just want to see people wrestle. The main event was a wrestling match. It was
Can we
Finn Balor
stop
against Kyle O'Reilly.
people in general putting on a fucking ref shirt and being a referee? That's not how it works.
No, I know it's not.
This is true, but I gotta be honest. I love watching those two, man.
I'm gonna go let them-
Gargano and his wife is fucking hysterical. That shit is hysterical.
Guys, I can't believe it, but we're already 5 minutes to the top of the hour. So let's dive into the NXT pretty quick because this hour has flown.
Good time.
But what was the overall feeling of NXT? I actually still have not seen it yet.
The matches
No.
were all good.
Yeah, for sure.
Usually.
Matches were all good to great. Finishes were decent for the most part. I don't recall any really fuck finishes at all. My biggest complaint is actually at the end, after the
Oh, that was
O'Reilly Balor match, which was fucking awesome, by the way.
Yeah, I heard that was one of the matches of the night.
Match, and then you have fucking Ridge Holland, of all people who nobody gives a shit about or knows, drops Adam Cole in front of them, and then like it sets that. I don't know.
I mean, that was a little bit off, but
Well,
you know,
I have no
I
clue
see
that
four
guy is.
guys. How can four guys not beat that one guy? I don't understand.
Oh yeah.
I don't even know what you guys are talking about.
It's a killer match, like and they both led, and they both got hurt. I think.
Yeah, but I think
Oh,
it's
that's
setting up
why.
the Undisputed Era breaking up. You know what I mean? Like that whole thing that happened after the match, I think is going to be.
I think that's fucking stupid to break them up. I think I want to see Hurt Business versus Undisputed Era.
Yeah, I was just assuming that they're all going to get called up during the draft. But I could be wrong. That's just
Put
my,
them
that would
before
make sense.
they have their time on the main roster.
like something huge has to happen during this draft, right? So that would be something huge if they got called up as a group. I don't know if they would do that, but
Well, see that, but that's the thing. So we all kind of thought they were going to come up as a group, and if you watch the, watch the finish of that heavyweight match, then it kind of seems like maybe one of the thing that happened at the end of the match, maybe one of the other Undisputed Era guys was behind it. It wasn't. It seems like it's not a swerve, bro, like a Russo swerve, but they made it look like, oh, this one guy came out and attacked XYZ, but they never showed the person doing the attack, so it's not going to be them. It's going to be somebody else. So either they're going to debut somebody that did the attack, or it's going to turn out to be one of the Undisputed Era members attacking one of their own, and that might lead to the split of the group.
Either way, the pay-per-view was legit. Shit went down right.
Definitely a fun.
were there any other things to highlight?
I like the setup of the Thunderdome for NXT with the cage on the
cool.
outside. That shit was pretty cool.
That's their whole.
Yeah, that Capital Wrestling thing is really cool.
Wait, so are they at a Full Sail officially?
Well, this is. I think this is. They've turned the Performance Center into this Capital Wrestling Center, or at least a part of it, where they incorporate the Thunderdome screens, but then they also have room for like 100 people of a live audience.
It looks like the railings are all like a steel cage, like a black steel cage,
Yeah,
old school.
okay, and then they've got the plexiglass behind the cage.
I'm definitely
That's
digging
pretty
it.
fucking cool.
Off on anybody. Opening match, if I remember correctly, I don't remember the opening match was, but it was good. I enjoyed it. The
I
only
think that was
down-
the Dream and Kushida, right?
Yeah, that was a good match, but again, Dream, when I see him on TV, it just takes away from my enjoyment now. I used to be a big Dream fan, and now I don't know. I
But
understand.
now with Kushida, it's almost like they're going to make him what Itami should have been.
Yeah, like and that was the thing. They not that he wasn't always injured, but that's the other thing. That was a point where when they brought in a Japanese wrestler or a Mexican wrestler, whoever, they wanted him to wrestle the WWE style, and they're not used to it, and so they wouldn't look good, and they would get injured, and they wouldn't be. Oh, you got to be bigger. You got to be a heavyweight. You can't be so small. Like there's all these things that they try and like they sign somebody, and then they want to change all the things that made you want to sign him in the first fucking place. So it didn't make any sense. Kushida is Kushida. Kushida has had this Back to the Future thing going on since well before NXT. He was doing it in New Japan for years, the hoverboard lock and the whole thing. So instead
And he
of
was badass on Sunday too.
and he's great. He's, part of me is like, man, I wish this guy just went back to Japan, but also like he's putting on good matches in the US, so why not? I mean, use him. The thing is, they signed him like last year, and then they sat on him. He wrestled, or not last year. It was earlier this year. His
But
last
this was
match.
his first takeover.
Yeah, because he wrestled the Tokyo Dome show on July 4th or 5th, or January 4th or 5th, and then that was his last match with New Japan, and then he went over to the US. So. But he's one of those guys you got to use him more. He's a fucking talent. Oh, and both guys, Steve, since you haven't watched, Kushida dressed like Marty, and then Marty McFly from Back to the Future, and then Dream dressed like Doc, and he had his hair up, and it was teased out, and it was dyed white, and he had the yellow gloves on and the white in the lab. He came out dressed like Doc Brown.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was Marty versus Doc Brown, and Marty just beat the piss out of him, which is great. The finish of the match, I'll tell you, and then you'll just see it and be amazed anyway. It doesn't matter if I spoil it for you.
No, you're good.
Kushida worked the arm the whole show, the whole match. Kushida working the arm, puts him in an arm bar, all this stuff, almost gets a submission. Dream hits the Purple Rainmaker elbow off the top rope, and Kushida eats it. He takes the elbow, but then is able to turn it into an arm bar.
He never let go of the arm.
Right. So he was like, he didn't. So as soon as the elbow landed, he pulled it back into an arm bar and fucking almost ripped it out of his shoulder socket. It looked awesome. And it was, again, I know innocent until proven guilty and all that. Dream on there with the accusations that are out there makes me uncomfortable until everything is sorted out. I think they should, not fire the guy, but I think maybe he should maybe not be on TV.
Based on what Kushida did to him after the match, I think this is going to take Dream out for a bit.
Well, but the last time we said that was when he got pushed off a ladder and fell through a table. We're like, oh, that's it for him.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
That's true.
Yeah, but didn't the person who made the accusations come out and say that they lied? Wasn't that already
there's
out?
more than one, though. That's the thing. There's more. There's a couple out there. There was the thing on Twitter where he asked instead of sending a direct message, he sent an "please call me" in all caps. Like, there's just weird stuff. I'm not saying that he did it. I'm not saying that he didn't do it. I just until I hear from
It's all ambiguous until.
Yeah,
that's a good call.
I would like to hear a statement from the local police that are investigating that says we've investigated, we've spoken to him, we've spoken to the accusers, and we've determined that nothing happened. If I'm able to hear that, I feel a lot better about what's going on. Right now, it just gives me a funny feeling. Especially, it wouldn't matter if the guy was like Duke the Dumpster Droese and he was a wrestling garbage man. The guy is wrestling as Prince, who's like a pervert, who's like an overly sexual person. So it just doesn't work. It would be like if, and this is, I hope it never happens, if somebody accused Goldust back when he was being weirdo Goldust, and they accused Goldust of assaulting them, it would be the same feeling because
that's a good point.
Weird sexual character that's then doing something in real life that reflects this weird character. So it just makes the whole thing makes me feel funny. But overall, I mean, it's a takeover. There isn't much to complain about when you watch a takeover event. It's a good.
We've never ever been able to
there's 31
complain.
of them. I think maybe there might have been one where 2 matches weren't great or something. You know what I mean? But there's
I just thought of something else. NXT is bringing back Halloween Havoc of all things.
Oh yeah. So they announced
Awesome. That was one of my favorite WCW pay-per-views.
hosted by Shotzi Blackheart.
That's awesome. And on that note, guys, it is top of the hour. That went way too fast.
That was
These
pretty
shows
good.
flow.
Yeah, we did a little bit of extra innings here. Went an extra 5 minutes, but I hope you enjoyed. So hope you check us out next week as well. We are the War Report podcast, brought to you by TagMeADate.com, the first and only dating site for fans of professional wrestling. You can follow us on social media at TagMeADate. TagMeADate, no spaces. You push it all together, and it's all one word, TagMeADate, and then you'll be able to see our page on most social media sites. So we got Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, YouTube, Instagram, et cetera. Basically, literally every social media platform you can think of, Twitch, all that. We're going to be on as at TagMeADate. If you go to youtube.com, you type TagMeADate in the search bar, you can find our channel, hit subscribe, hit the bell to get notified. You can subscribe to us or follow us on Twitch. If you do subscribe to to us. If you're an Amazon Prime member, you get like 1 or 2 free subscriptions a month, but those subscriptions actually are monetarily based, and they give a little bit of cash to the Twitch streamer, which is like their business model. So if you're an Amazon Prime person, you're feeling particularly charitable, subscribe to our channel on Twitch at Tag Me a Date. I believe it's at Tag Me a Date. Again, just search for Tag Me a Date.
Shit.
If you prefer the audio version rather than the video version of this podcast, on Wednesdays after we record live on Tuesdays, you can check out Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Music, and
Hold on, Twitch. We're just War Report on
War
Twitch.
Report.
Just
War,
War
oh,
Report
no,
on
yeah,
Twitch.
okay. At War Report on Twitch. Perfect. And yeah, the audio versions are Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. They're all free. The podcasts, everything we do is free. The only reason I mentioned the Twitch thing is that if you're, like I said, if you're an Amazon Prime member, I do this myself. If you're an Amazon Prime member, every month you get to subscribe to somebody. You don't pay anything because you've already paid your Prime fee. But Amazon takes that money and takes it and presents it to the streamer. So that's an opportunity for you to help out the show. But again, we're free. We're completely 100% free. That's not going to change. I don't think. We're still going to present this. Whether or not we do anything else where we ask you for money or a paywall or extras or anything like that, we're always going to be free here on YouTube, Twitch, Periscope, etc. And we will be live next Tuesday, 7 p.m. on Eastern time. Daylight savings time looks like it's going to be November 1st this year. So we got a couple more weeks, but I always like putting the word out there that I know Arizona doesn't do it, and there are a few other places in the world that don't do it. So just, make sure that you're listening or watching at the right time once we go into daylight savings. And that's it for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you tell your friends. We're always looking for new listeners. We got this new platform here that allows us to be really interactive with the comments that come in, and just present a cleaner, better presentation of the show with the bottom ticker and the names on everything. So we do this so you guys can enjoy the program more. And if you enjoy the program, please tell your friends, share it, share some links, share it on social media. Let them know what we're talking about on the show. Because I mean, we're wrestling fans going back 30 years, just like Chris Jericho. And we love talking about it. And we'd love to have you and all of your wrestling friends join us as part of this community. So thank you again for watching the War Report, brought to you by tagmeadate.com. And we'll see you next Tuesday live on Periscope, Twitch, Facebook, and here on YouTube, also live, 7 p.m. on Eastern time. Thank you so much for watching. Have a nice week.